Well, guess what, guys? I have the Shahriar Rahman with me. Shahriar, before so me, guys, Shahriar, and I call him Shah. He said I'm the only one I can call him that. Can I still call you Shah? I can, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I love how you call G.
Shahji,
You
there you go.
like
So I'm talking to the Shahji. Shahji, before we
Mhm.
start, I was just talking to one of the producer. You know him very well, Sharuk. So
Yeah.
his message was to you. You have a project with him, and what are you doing on the interview? I said I was going to tell him not the beginning of the interview, at the end of the interview. Before Shah says, "Oh shoot, I got to finish the project." So
Oh, yeah.
that was his message to
Yeah.
you,
That is really yes.
Shah.
Yeah. Hmm.
2000, man, 2000 or
Yeah.
2002, New York, Jamaica, your house. I've just
Yeah.
moved into New York. I was staying in Astoria, winter,
Yeah.
snow. I've just recorded, the Asian invasion, some few interviews. I remember
Yes.
Sheetal was a very dear friend. You know him as well. She helped me out. And I needed an editor. And we
Yeah.
met, and he told me, we started having conversation, and it says buy G4. So I don't know if a lot of people in the industry, they know what G. Now we have Mac Pro and all that, but the G4,
Yeah.
when I said let's get
Before,
G4, the big heavy thing. I'm walking, driving in I had a Ford Explorer those days. Put it in the damn car, bought it. I don't know how. I think like $1,000 or I don't remember. Bought that, put it in my car, come to your house, carrying it in the snow, and then bringing it
oh
into
my
that
God.
time you were in the house. From
Yeah.
that 2002 to now, Shah is one of the, mashallah, a success story, a great VFX supervisor, VFX
Yes.
artist, filmmaker, a director, done many music videos. Now, mashallah, he's one of the success story who has made it and working very successfully in the mainstream, so-called Hollywood, as VFX supervisors in many shows that you see on NBC,
Yes.
ABC, HBO, Showtime, and then a lot of projects on Netflix. So
Mhm.
how our journey, we have, that time I remember leaving my father's business, came to New York, and it was starting off my career in the television. Man, long way to go, huh? We've come
It was a
so
long trip.
long way.
Yeah.
We have come from that tiny show,
Mhm.
and how
Yes.
we made it. We worked hours and hours and hours to get this 30-minute show. Rendering time, one small render used to take days, arguing back
Yes.
and forth.
I
So
remember.
tell me, man, how has been our journey? What and then, mashallah, he have a beautiful son, married to a beautiful a
Yes.
wife who's a lawyer.
Yes.
Moved to LA. How long you moved? It's been how long you moved to LA now, Shah?
It's been, it's been 10 years.
10. Oh my
Alhamdulillah,
God,
it's been 10 years.
time flew,
It
mashallah.
time
And now
flew,
you,
man.
you are a successful VFX supervisor in Hollywood, man. So
Yeah.
if we go back 15 years ago, tell me how has been your journey, man.
Wow, it's been a mind-blowing journey. I mean, as you remember, you were there for the early and middle part of my journey. You were definitely in my career a very dear person to me, for many reasons. I mean, I had graduated from film school in 2001, and
Right.
then I had you very soon after that. And we started working on that show, and it's crazy, like I still remember editing that show. And it's so funny, like yesterday I actually pulled out the DVD. I still have the show of the DVD of the show. I kept it. And we worked so hard on it. I remember that I had to move out of my house for 5 days, and I literally stayed with you in
All
your
right.
apartment for
I
5.
remember that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
story.
when I edited. Yeah, and then I did the opening titles, and in fact, I'm very proud of that show, still to this day. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really, really, really long journey. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't really go to film school. I mean, I didn't plan on going to film school as a kid. My aspirations was wanted to be a doctor. It surprises a lot of people because, you know, I'm South Asian, and they're like, oh, wait, you know, you obviously you wanted to be a doctor to make your parents happy. And I'm like, no, that wasn't my case. I actually really did want to be a doctor. And, you know, my parents, you know, we immigrated to the US when I was 15 years old. And I came on a special student visa that allowed me to study in an American, an American school. And for that reason, I got the visa. And after getting here, my dad, who's a doctor in Saudi Arabia, that's where we lived before, you know, his friends advised him, hey, why don't you change your status and stay? So that's the journey of my initial.
And I remember having your mom's cooking, and she was a sitar player.
Yeah.
She used to play in
Yes.
concerts, and I remember going to your house. You have a tabla and sitar, and I remember your sister Shana, who used to also practicing Kathak that time, very young. Yeah.
Yeah, and Shana's actually went on to become a really good singer. I mean, she sang. Her training is classical Indian singing, and she's done many different genres, and she studied it since she was 5 years old. So music, even though both of my parents were doctors in their background, they had very artistic background. They really wanted us to be very cultured musically and all of that. But yeah,
who knew that you will make a career out of it, mashallah, and a very successful one as well.
I feel like I'm very blessed and very lucky. I mean, it is a long story, and I don't know how much of the story we should get into, but essentially me getting into film was something that I wasn't planning on doing. But once I went to college, and, you know, certain things happened with my immigration status, and then I had to switch careers, and that's started studying film, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do with my life. And as you can imagine, for somebody who wanted to be a doctor his whole life, it was quite a shock to my parents and to my medical school friends. And, you know, it was very difficult for them to, even my professors were very surprised that I made that switch. But alhamdulillah, it worked out great for me. There was many years of struggle. You know, those first 10 years in New York before I came to LA was a lot of struggle. As part of it was because I didn't have my papers at that time, which made it difficult. I couldn't work at any big American, you know, normally people have a career track. They start an American company and then they stay and they grow with the company. And I didn't have that chance. You know,
but what it did was, you know, sorry to cut you in, but what it did, I think, because you were very tacky savvy as well too, and you spent hours and hours and hours of studying. In those days, there was not, YouTube was coming up, so there was not too much information available on YouTube, and, you know, for little plugins or little softwares or little editing tools, you know, I remember, you know, my producing job or directing part was to do it, but then on technical, on post is a completely whole different world out there. And, you know, I think that took a lot of time to produce that half-an-hour show. I think we took month, I don't know, 25 days. I mean, you can make a whole movie out of it. But obviously we were learning that time with lack of technology, little bit of lack of experience as well, a lot of research, and that made you, you know, expert what you are now. But one thing I do gotta say when we're talking about not having a paper, and I'm gonna tell you guys, so all the producers, a lot of producers and directors, you know, they did also, you know, one thing I would say, I know, you know, what I'm getting to, you were learning at that time as well too, but not having a paper, I think a lot of advantages were taken of you as well with a lot of, I'm not going to name the people, which is wrong, I think.
Right.
I think, and that should change just because, and you were genius what you did. We all worked hard, but some hurdles and challenges, there are people out there who will take advantage of you as well too. We're not going to get into that, which is wrong. And I think our commission should change that. If somebody who have disadvantages, we should not be taking advantages of. But then again, you know, it gave you the experience of learning, and then the hardship and the fruit that you're reaping now. It's beautiful, right?
And you actually pretty much explained it better than I could. You just explained it extremely well, which is in retrospect, alhamdulillah, because of those problems that I've had.
Right.
What I had to do, because I was so desperate to work in the media, I wasn't just learning editing. I was learning color grading. I was learning online finishing. I was learning motion graphics, opening. I was actually learning shooting, and you actually taught me, like, when we were working at STV together, which is another story.
I forgot about STV. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's so much stories, but you know, you taught me directing, and you know, obviously I have the lighting background. Whereas if I had my papers, what I'm seeing a lot of my colleagues, like for instance, I just finished a TV show called The Bold Type, where everybody's so compartmentalized, right? The editors, they don't touch VFX, right? They don't even know how to do VFX. The VFX artists, they don't know how to do color. But the huge, because I understand everything so well, intimately well, I could do all of them pretty much equally well. I can really bring a lot to the production. Every person that has hired me has known that. We're very surprised, and they're like, "Oh, you know, like, oh, thanks for the VFX. Now we're gonna take it over to our colors." So I'm like, "Whoa, you know, did you know that I also do color?" They're like, like, "Shai, you do?" It's like, yeah, and then you know, and I also the different genres. I worked in music videos. I worked on 50 different music videos.
Right.
So all of that is because what you pointed out, being 10 years of not having papers. I know maybe a lot of your watchers out there are struggling with whatever status or not being able to have status. And my work to them is really to cultivate those skill sets, which until they get their papers, those skill sets are not replaceable. Those are things that you carry for the rest of your life.
So it's okay to take all the odd jobs, which is you're learning, or whether the paper is one example. There's so many certain things, because you know, when you're starting off, you don't, just because you have just graduated with a degree in MFA as a director or producer, you're not going to be a Steven Spielberg or get your first Oscar. You have to pay your dues, and you have to be working in, you know, which I know, if I watch a lot of, I follow a lot of Bollywood big actors in terms of their struggle. Even Abhishek Bachchan, who was legendary son of Amitabh Bachchan, you know, once he finished and he studied in Boston, first job was his production assistant. You know, and a lot of actors, big actors. So that's how they start off, pretty much. What you're saying is in terms of, you know, the struggle, the hurdles, what comes in of getting there is learning all the skill set that comes really handy, and then gets you more jobs in the future.
Absolutely, that is what I'm saying. In fact, you're right. It was an advantage in a way, because if I had my papers, I would have definitely have started working at a company, and I would stayed within one track, whatever technical track.
Right. In your case,
I would have gone very far in that track, whether it's editing, visual effects, but I wouldn't have had the range of skill sets.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What do you remember? What do you remember from the struggling days the most? I mean, there was a time that comes into your, and then, you know, you have another brother as well too, but that time you were the breadwinner of the family for some reasons, and you have mother to take care of. You have a young sister to take care of. I know your brother was on his own, but the time and hurdles and challenges and having no paper, yet still so passionate about the industry, and then yet to ends meet, you know, what was it like? And was it come to your point that, okay, what the hell, you know, and then you've got a sharp producers, the directors who's utilizing your skills and not paying you. A lot of jobs that they will get your job done. You know, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. We have done a lot of job of hoping that, you know, we'll get another job or get paid, but a lot of time you don't get paid. So how was, tell me a little bit about that. Well, which is very unfair, guys, to take advantage of the people in the industry.
Unfortunately, it happens a lot. And even in Hollywood, have your papers, apparently it happens a lot. It's very exploitive industry. Very wrong. Thank you for asking this question, because it is definitely something, it's a topic that's very dear to me that I want to discuss with people. It was a horrible, horrible time. I would say it was the darkest period of my life. So essentially what happened was that I have to step back and explain the steps to why this happened. So I was sponsored under my father, who converted me from a student visa to a dependent on him. And I got a letter from the INS, this was in 2001, saying that I should leave the country within 180 days because my petition to adjust with my family was denied because I had surpassed the age of 18 years of age.
Right.
I was just past 18 at that time. And the lawyer looked at it and they were like, well, this is a mistake. I was like, why is this a mistake? They were like, first of all, your sister's name is on this letter. My sister at the time was only 10 years old.
Right.
The thing is, the mistake that happened was that apparently we were extremely unlucky. In the middle of, usually when an older child, before they turn 18, you're supposed to stamp the application to expedite it. Because once you turn 18, you can't adjust with your parents anymore. Right. So what unfortunately was that stamp was not stamped on our thing, and our file was, INS had moved their offices, and unfortunately our file was in a box that was left at the old office, and unfortunately, you know, by the time they found out, I had already surpassed the age of 18. The reason why I went into that story is that I fell out of status completely out of nothing that I did. It was completely a mistake by the government. And at that time, we involved lawyers, and they gave contradictory advice. And as a result, pretty much from 2001 to 2011, which is when I got my temporary work authorization, I was out of status essentially for those 10 years.
But you were still working. You were still trying to make the ends meet by doing odd jobs, whether it's editing, whether it's special effects, whether it's shooting, and then whether it's lighting, right?
Absolutely. And this is what I want everybody to know, which is just because you have those kind of experience similar problems with paperwork doesn't mean you not pursue what you want to do.
Right.
So I made ends meet by editing birthdays, editing baby shower videos.
Videos, right.
Wedding videos. I did a lot of wedding videos, really.
Right.
I installer for a cable. I don't know if I did a lot of odd jobs. I took 2 or 3 jobs at a time sometimes because my problem happened. My father left my family, which made my problem worse because I was sponsored under my dad.
Right.
And he didn't up the part, I went out of status. Like later on, when I could have qualified through a different means, I couldn't because I didn't literally have a sponsor. My mom had sponsored me. So as a result of my dad not being in the picture, being the oldest one, the breadwinner of the family, having a family, did whatever the job that I could do. And I did so many weddings, so many things. And then these led to my first television production job, which was a Bangladeshi channel called TBC at the time. This is right after we met. You and we met probably, I think, in 2001, 2002. TBC, I started working in 2004. Right. And then from TBC, I got STV started in 2005. And it was just nonstop working 7 days a week. I remember working, pretty much through the holidays, even the Muslim holidays. My family hardly would see me. Like, it was intense, the amount of work that I did. I think I edited probably around 200 to 300 different commercials for local companies. Right. And sometimes I didn't even have the proper edits. Like, I sold my computer and then I had to somehow rummage money to buy another one. You bought a computer at one point. And then, it was those were very dark days, I have to say. They were
hard days. I remember that time, and then you brought me in with the Bangla channel, STV.
Yes.
I'm forgetting the names, but I had an opportunity to work with the great filmmakers, with the great television directors and actors of Bangladesh descent. And I was amazed the kind of artistic ability, all the artists had, and whether it's from the production aspect of it. And then we started doing bigger production. They rented out a huge space and studio. I'm forgetting the name of that. And that gives an opportunity to explore. We had a lot of so a lot of shows we did, like we started off Gen X, we started Asian Invasion. There's so many shows that we did where we're doing it for the other network. We took those same kind of shows and converted that into a Bangladeshi. language, which
Yeah.
was Bideshi,
Videshi. Bangla
Bideshi,
invasion.
Bangla Invasion. Then there was another one we did. There's another one, Generation X talk that we did it with this one girl, and we ended up shooting so many episodes of that as well too, and that became really popular. I'm forgetting the name of it, of that show. There's two shows that became the signature show for us.
Yeah. Well, that Ruma, one of them was
Ruma,
Ruma,
there you go.
and the other one was Dia. I don't know. Do you
Dia.
remember Sadia? Dia.
So Dia started the Gen X. I forgot the name. What
We call that Bideshi.
Bideshi. There you go. So the Bideshi was Dia, and Ruma was the Bangla Invasion.
Well, yeah. And you were really good because they were wonderful people to work with. I mean, Ruma is one of the closest in my life. Like she and it's funny because we hardly talk like we might maybe talk every 6 months, but when we talk, it's like we left off where last 6 months ago. We just pick up from where we just talked. Like we were so close for that. And I mean, those were I still have every single episode of Videshi and Bangla Invasion in my archives, and I look at them dearly. I think very fondly of them. You got us started on those shows. And we ended up doing total of, between those two shows, and actually all three shows, 73 episodes.
Wow.
We did a lot. Yeah.
But it's also, what's also important people to know, in the old days, there were other studios, but there was hardly South Asian studios were set up. So I think STV was the first one of the studios out of the Bangladesh. Yeah. That's the trend of setting up one of the biggest studio in New York. So it was after when we started, but the effort that went on setting up the studios, setting up the lights, setting up the stages.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally got together with all the producers, actors, and it was not, the director of the team together, painting the studio green, getting the costumes, getting the sets, building the sets our together, getting all the artists together it became a family as well. And I've got to eat so much Bangla food as well too, so we used to,
I was going to say, yeah, sorry for the delay. I was going to say it was the most extraordinary experience of my life.
Right.
I am so glad that I went through that. And I want people to remember this little institution that, it only existed for maybe 2.5, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
But during that time, it was it was unprecedented what they were able to achieve. I mean, it was an entire fully finished studio.
Right.
They spent so much money.
Right.
All the tools, the equipment. I had my own 3 Mac Pros in my own. I mean,
they
weren't Mac Pros.
Yeah.
5 Macs in my room in the studio. Like it was. Every equipment we had was new and modern, and every light we had, every
HMI 2K, 4K. We bought DSR 450s.
The DSR 450s, our
DSR
cameras.
450s, man.
Yeah. I mean, that was just a remarkable experience, and I was working 24 hours a day. I mean, there were many daytimes where I slept at the studio. I mean, I often slept at the studio. I would literally sleep on my carpet. That whenever we'd have the Eid show, which I still remember, Eid of 2006, that Eid show that I did, I mean, that I edited, and it was just remarkable. Yeah, that was very, very memorable.
That time I had moved on to, one of the Pakistani channel just started off in New York. They also set up a small setup. That time I went on so I started out as the head of the production, which when I left, you ended up, and then that's, you ended up joining them. But the point was, of saying that, when you become a family within that industry, there's, when I first was starting off, I met Shah, we worked together, and then I was out of the job. And this is how the trend of the industry is. And then Shah got the opportunity to work with the STV. And then first person he brought me, obviously he knew my experience as well, but there was a friendship. I said, hey, Saad, they've got this opportunity. You gave me my job then. I gave you the first job, and then you ended up giving my second job. STV went off.
Yeah, and
that time I was working with the Airways. And hey, by the way, so where I'm getting to, then, we lost the STV, you guys lost the STV. At that time I moved on to the network. I said, hey, you called me up. I said, you know what? Come down. And then you ended up getting a job with the ARY. The point is that, you know, when we start working together, we gel together, and then, you know, we also help each other out. And in this industry, you never know.
Asad, you're dropping out. I don't know if you can.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? 1 second. 1 second.